Here, Tasha Keeney of ARK Invest responds to the question, is Tesla at the forefront of autonomous mobility? And if so, why have competitors already launched services? Kind of like how somebody might have asked maybe 15 years ago, is Tesla at the forefront of electric vehicle technology? If so, why are there other companies that have produced, released, and sold a few electric vehicles ahead of Tesla? Shout out to the EV1.
Thesis on Tesla related to autonomy. We believe that they'll launch a Robotaxi network, and they've also stated their plans to do so. And they plan to reach full autonomy. Elon Musk has said, at the earliest by the end of this year, and he would be surprised if it didn't happen next year. Our forecast is a little more conservative than that. We think next year, possibly bleeding into 2026. But why do we think so? So Tesla has a great data advantage over peers.
Fact check. True, as we can see on screen. This data as of 2023, autonomous miles, annualized run rate. As we can see, it's really neck and neck in terms of how much data companies are able to collect based on how many miles their supposed autonomous vehicles are driving and or being driven. Tesla doesn't have a near 2 order of magnitude larger pool of data from which to draw upon to train its AI, to improve its capabilities. So obviously at this point in time, Tasha totally doesn't know what she's talking about. I mean, come on, tell me on screen now. This is basically exactly the same. These totally even, right? No big difference. What data advantage is she talking about? She must be high. Plus, even if it's true that Tesla has a massive data advantage, which by the way, in order to somehow match Tesla on this data collection, you'd somehow magically need to click your fingers and put 7+ million vehicles on roads, not including the vehicles that have been collecting the data. So probably need to put about 10 million on roads instantly. And then Tesla would also have to stop putting new vehicles on roads. So yeah, good luck with that. But as I mentioned, it's not like data is actually necessary, like high quality data, lots of it necessary for training autonomous vehicles, especially given the fact that safety is so important, and in order to make sure that your vehicle is safe in every circumstance and every condition, you need to be collecting so much data that you get all those extremely rare edge cases. An edge case like it's really fucking windy and suddenly a tent from the circus goes blowing across the highway in front of your vehicle. What do you do then? Well, if you don't have any data, enough data, multiple examples of this, you don't know what the fuck to do. No, I'm just kidding. Data doesn't matter. You just press the magic catch up to Tesla button and they'll solve autonomy instantly, just like Tesla.
So, you're absolutely right that they were not first to launch a Robotaxi network. In fact, that was Waymo. They launched in 2019. And Waymo, they launched first because they've taken a different approach. They use LiDAR, which is a system of lasers, along with a suite of other sensors, and they have meticulously mapped the areas that they drive ahead of launching in new cities. Tesla uses a camera-only system. They do not use high-definition maps. This makes the problem more difficult to solve, but we believe that...
She's right. This really matters too. In the short term, because Tesla is using pure vision, just like people do when we drive, they are playing on hard mode for now. But the reason they're doing this is manifold. First of all, we have proof of concepts. Hundreds of millions of humans with just 2 cameras drive pretty well. Of course, Tesla wants superhuman capabilities, so a few more cameras so you can literally see all directions simultaneously, plus thinking at the speed of a computer versus a meat computer, which humans have, our brain, means ultimately a vehicle surrounded in cameras just enough to see every direction at the same time, plus computer speed reaction times, is a recipe for superhuman safety. They're the necessary ingredients. They're the only necessary ingredients. By producing a delicious dish with these ingredients just takes a little more time. This gives a lot of people the false perception Tesla's behind, because companies like Cruise and Waymo, now onto the second point, cover their vehicles in sensors. Best estimates over $100,000 of bullshit on the vehicle. This ain't scalable. Tesla, meanwhile, sells the vehicles to customers, makes thousands of dollars of profit on every vehicle sold, has a few cameras on them, and suddenly they've already got a fleet of, in the future, potentially 7+ million Robotaxis already on roads today. They just need the software update. As I've mentioned many times in the past, what Tesla is developing is a generalized form of autonomy, general intelligence. In the future, you'll be able to pick up a Tesla vehicle and drop it anywhere on Earth, and it'll know how to drive safely because it knows how to drive on roads on Earth. This means that their service will be able to scale extremely rapidly. And remember, there's already millions, getting close now to 10 million Tesla vehicles on roads that in the future could operate as Robotaxis with a software update. This is insane scale. The same is not true for Tesla's so-called competitors who've already launched services, who, as Tasha points out, are meticulously mapping in high definition ahead of time. They've got fuck tons of expensive and totally unnecessary in the future sensors, and they don't have viable business models. Can you imagine what the financials of Cruise and Waymo look like? How much money they're losing? If you can't, well, here's a hint. Every vehicle on the roads, $100,000+, probably a lot more than that. They're charging comparable prices to Uber, a couple of dollars a mile. And these vehicles can only operate in pockets that have been meticulously previously mapped in high definition. From an investor's point of view, the way I think about the opportunity for autonomy is which company is most likely to take the lion's share of the market in terms of miles traveled and, importantly, profits. Companies like Cruise and Waymo with extremely brittle services operating in tiny little pockets with extremely high capital costs to get operating, losing crazy amounts of money. They may take up fractions of a percent or a couple percent of all miles traveled in terms of autonomous vehicles in the future. They're going to get even less of a percentage of the profits. Why even bother? So imagine that you have a company, let's just call it Robotaxi. Shout out to DARPA if you know, you know. So your company is called Robotaxi. And imagine that you are competing against Tesla Robotaxis. And now imagine that Tesla is able to offer an identical or even superior service for half the price. More on this in a moment. By the way, it's probably a lot less than half, but hey, play along at home. Now imagine this service is much like a utility, e.g. water, gas, electricity, right? In other words, 99% of customers don't give a fuck who is their utility provider. They just want a good price and a reliable service. And now imagine that if you order a Tesla Robotaxi, it arrives within, say, 90 seconds on average because they're already fucking everywhere. In contrast, if you order a Robotaxi, because there are a lot less in every city that Tesla's already filled with vehicles, it takes a few minutes to arrive, let's say 3 to 5 minutes. This is kind of not a super relevant point, but play along at home. Now imagine that both to the customer cost the exact same price. Most people are probably going to have a bias toward the faster service. But even if they don't, this is not the major point. Remember how I said Tesla could offer the same service for half the price? Now imagine that the Tesla Robotaxi service has scaled, because initially I think they're going to have very premium prices just because of the cool factor, the novelty factor. But once scaled, I personally believe that Tesla will be offering the service for the lowest possible price that they can still make a small profit on. Why? Because it aligns directly with their publicly stated mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Every mile traveled in an electric vehicle is one less mile traveled in an internal combustion engine vehicle. Give or take, we can make the argument of it. Don't go there. The point is, this is the fastest way for Tesla to accomplish their long-term mission. Get robotaxis, electric robotaxis on roads, displacing internal combustion engine vehicles. So Tesla's going to want as many people to be able to afford to use a Tesla robotaxi service as possible, meaning they're going to price them as competitively as possible. In other words, aggressively lowering the cost to use a Tesla robotaxi, still making a small profit though, is mission aligned for Tesla. It will happen. This is not going to be a premium price service in the long run. Now, this means that the only way that Robotaxi can compete with Tesla Robotaxi on price is if Robotaxi loses money on every trip. Sound familiar? Kind of reminds me a little bit of the electric vehicle industry right now. Everyone losing tens of thousands of dollars per electric vehicle sold just to compete with Tesla, who have much lower costs. Interesting. This would mean that Robotaxi is losing money on every single trip just to compete with Tesla on price. Now, the reason that Robotaxi has much higher costs is because their vehicles, as opposed to Tesla, who next-gen vehicle, probably going to cost them about $15,000, $17,000, maybe $18,000 to manufacture, maybe a tiny bit more. Robotaxi is spending over $100,000 per vehicle. And in addition, instead of just being able to press the on button for autonomy, turn the software on, because Robotaxi don't have a generalized solution, they in fact need to go through the extremely laborious and very expensive process of pre-mapping every square inch of every street in every block they intend on operating their service. You don't have to have a very large brain to realize that if Tesla's cost to put an autonomous robotaxi on roads is, let's say, a quarter or even less, but a quarter, let's just say a quarter the cost of their so-called competition, Robotaxi in this example, and if Tesla's own publicly stated mission makes it extremely clear that they're not going to print crazy money on these things per trip, it's actually going to be about scale, which itself will actually print even more money, but let's not go there. It's obvious Tesla's going to price these as competitively as they can. Then the companies like Robotaxi, the only possible way that they'll actually have consumers who see this stuff like a utility willing to use their service if it's comparable in price to a Tesla Robotaxi, but the only way they can do that if they lose money. So the question is, how in the actual fuck would Robotaxi be a viable business? And the answer is, checks notes. Wait. There's nothing on this page. Hey, producer, hello. This is meant to have the explanation on how Robotaxi would be a viable business once robotaxis from Tesla have scaled. Wait, what? Oh, it's meant to be blank? Well, I don't Oh, I get it. Because there is no reason. That's why there's nothing on the page. Very funny. Can anyone remind me which company is currently and indefinitely making the lion's share of the profits selling electric vehicles globally? Does anyone have any ideas? Wait, what's that? You in the back? Tesla? Oh, yeah. Well done. Gold star for you. Yeah, that's right. They're making almost all of them profits. Most companies producing electric vehicles today and selling them, because they have to compete with Tesla with much lower costs, are losing money just trying to keep selling vehicles. That's not a sustainable business model. We're going to see this play out again on a whole other level with autonomy. Remember, in theory, any company could, if they had big enough brains and good enough engineers, replicate exactly what Tesla's doing in terms of their production of vehicles and the technology. They can't nail the software because they don't have the data for autonomy. But other than that, they could be manufacturing the hardware for pretty much the same cost. They're not yet. They're not smart enough. They don't move fast enough, and Tesla continues to innovate. But hey, matching Tesla on EV costs, which they're not going to manage to do, but hey, that's a hell of a lot easier than somehow competing with Tesla on costs for robotaxis. Anyway, back to Tasha Keeney after that long detour.
That they might be able to solve it at scale sooner than other players because of the data advantage. So if you look at the number of miles driven on Waymo's platform since inception, it's roughly 40 million. Tesla's fleet is driving over 200 million miles a day, and over 5 million of those are actually in the FSD software suite. But they can use all the miles in the fleet, of course, for running software in shadow mode, for simulation, and for that data collection piece. So this gives them access to important corner cases and events that they then are solving for in their full self-driving software. So this is what we believe will allow them to launch at scale, in addition to the fact that they're a vertically integrated manufacturer. They don't have to partner with an outside auto manufacturer to scale their fleet. We think that this gives them an incredible advantage. So we're looking out for the Robotaxi event later this year. You know, as Kathy said, yes, Tesla has been overly optimistic about this in the past. But we've seen so much great progress, and we see many videos, and we have firsthand experience that the latest version of the full self-driving software is incredible. And you can already see drives where people do not have to touch the wheel.
This is true, and obviously very important, and being ignored by the people who continue to go, look, Cruise and Waymo already operating somewhere, therefore ahead of Tesla. I am personally very confident that in the next 12 to 24 months, the first Tesla robotaxis begin operation. And unlike their so-called competition, who've already launched services, I also strongly believe that Tesla robotaxis will go from 0 vehicles operating to multiple orders of magnitude more operating than any of their so-called competitors in the blink of an eye. And in doing so, Tesla will capture a huge slice, if not the majority, of autonomous miles driven and profits made on autonomous miles driven.
So it seems like we're really on the edge there of Tesla being able to launch a robotaxi service in a particular area. Imagine one particular city. So we look forward to that and follow our research as we get there.
So I saw somebody reply to this short clip on X with a clip of some guy. Looks like he still lives in his mum's basement. Apparently it's related to autonomy. So let's see what this guy has to say. I'll let you know if I agree or not. So a question I have, again, even if you're a skeptic in terms of autonomy, if you own Tesla stock or don't own Tesla stock, have you actually modeled out the implications of Tesla successfully solving autonomy and consumers using Tesla vehicles as robotaxis to get from point A to point B? If you have not done this, you are missing out on a multi-trillion-dollar trick. Opportunities like these do not come around every day. In fact, they come around maybe once every century or so. You don't have to believe Tesla will solve autonomy, but I tell you what, you want to make fucking sure that you've considered whether they can, will, or might solve autonomy and what the implications may or may not be. Because if Tesla does solve autonomy, if their lead is truly unassailable, and they can scale robotaxis, when this fact becomes obvious to everyone in the stock market, you better hope you're done buying Tesla stock before this moment. Man, who is this guy? I agree with literally everything he just said. Does he have a channel I could subscribe to? Now, let me summarize. But before I do, time to plug my Tesla valuation model. If you haven't seen it, check out the link in the pinned comment. Join Patreon at the investor level and above. You'll see my 10-year Tesla valuation very, very heavily influenced by Tesla autonomy. Now, the summary, back to Derpataxi versus Tesla Robotaxi. Point number 1, service similarity. Tesla will offer an identical or better service. Pricing. Tesla can price at half the cost. That's probably conservative, which aligns directly with their mission. Now, to customer perceptions. Customers treat taxi services like utilities. They prioritize reliability and price over brand. And how many of you are passionate about your electricity provider? About zero? And then in terms of arrival time, Tesla already has a high enough density of vehicles that these things will be almost instantly available. Robotaxi will struggle. In terms of cost to use, initially, they're both likely to have comparable prices, but Tesla can lower prices without losing money. And once they get over that initial premium, that's exactly what they'll do. And in terms of business viability, Robotaxi must lose money to match Tesla's prices, which makes it a non-viable business. In conclusion, Robotaxi can't sustainably compete with Tesla Robotaxis. So maybe think about the implications. Bye. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. There's plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend, seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game's improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.